Hey everyone, welcome back to a new Disney and Pixar ranking video. You all already know the deal. This time I'll rank movies from 2011 to 2015 with my friends. Let's get to the movies. And we're starting with the final 2D animated Disney movie, Winnie the Pooh. Let's at least hope it's good. Pooh and his friends embark on a whimsical adventure to find Christopher Robin, who is missing. Along the way they encounter various obstacles and learn valuable lessons about friendship and teamwork. Okay, I know this recap sounds fucking stupid, but there's a reason for that. Basically, just like with the 1977 movie, this movie doesn't have one full story and instead combines several different stories. Just like with Fantasia, usually I dislike when movies don't have one complete story. It makes me lose interest. In the main story, Christopher Robin says in his letter that he'll be back soon, but because Winnie and his friends are idiots, they think he got captured by a creature called Baxon. Like, I don't get it, it's just too goofy. Humor as a whole here is weird. I wouldn't call it bad, since there are several jokes I laughed at, like the times when the fourth wall is broken, but a lot of the jokes feel futile and childish. I guess it's because I'm too old for this. One thing I will say, I love the main characters both in this and 1977 movie. Pooh is just so adorable, I can't help but smile when I see him. And his friends are nice too, they have a sweet dynamic together. Animation is a huge cost for that. Obviously it's better than the 1977 movie, but I feel like the designs improved and the backgrounds look nicer as well. Christopher Robin in particular had a nice design change, and I'm glad they changed his eyes in this movie. For the last 2D Disney movie, I think it's good. Lastly, I guess I could mention the music. It's mediocre. I like the song in the intro, but there are a lot of forgettable and bad songs. Like with the 1977 movie, I think Winnie the Pooh is a movie I'd enjoy way more as a little kid. Overall, I'd prefer The Princess and the Frog being the last 2D Disney movie, but this one's decent. Didn't really like or dislike this movie. Under the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Bro, did Cars 2 curse Pixar? Like, this is the second bad Pixar movie in a row. The film follows Merida, a fiery and skilled young archer who defies traditional expectations for princesses. When Merida's desire for independence leads her to seek help from a mysterious witch, she transforms her mother, Queen Eleanor, into a bear. This makes Merida embark on a quest to reverse the spell. Okay, I gotta be honest. This is likely gonna be the worst Pixar movie. I can't see it getting worse from here. This movie fucking sucked. Firstly, the story is so boring. It's a generic Disney trope about the princess wanting to be independent. This has been used before and it's definitely not good in this case. I don't care about any of the characters here, and neither do I care about the challenges they face. Merida's mom sucks for being so controlling of her daughter's marriage. And Merida is just a bitch. She's ready to punish her mom instead of solving the problem humanely. Oh, and as a cherry on top, the conflict gets solved with a speech that Merida gives. Perfect. Other characters are either just unfunny or annoying. Since I mentioned the humor, I gotta say it's horrible. Not a single joke I laughed at. I felt bored throughout the whole thing. This movie also has several songs, and the only one I thought was fine was the lullaby. The rest just suck. If I have to list some pluses, I guess some scenes were kinda good. The archery scene is an example. It reminded me of Robin Hood. Also, the animation is great. A lot of landscapes and designs show a nice look for Scotland. Still though, it's not fantastic because some designs are ugly and the colors get too dark at times. Yeah, overall Brave sucked. It's awful. I genuinely don't recommend watching it. I'll put it above Chicken Little cause at least Brave wasn't mean-spirited like Chicken Little. Hopefully Pixar improves because so far Disney is doing way better.
You know, when Disney Animated puts out the creative masterpiece and Pixar puts out the generic princess film, you know something is screwed up. Yep, it's Mr. CCS hacking into the show here today because I was dying to talk about a movie that I don't see a lot of people talking about, so pardon the interruption, folks. WreckIt Ralph is one of the freshest ideas ever cooked up by Disney, and that is saying something coming from the same studio that offered us a ton of unique ideas for the better part of 8 decades at that point. I've always considered this film to be amongst my favorite modern Disney movies, and that's because it's not only a well thought out character study, but also because of how much it pays tribute to gamers who grew up with arcades. All of the references, from Sonic the Hedgehog to Mario's name being dropped, to even featuring Tapper and the Burger Time Chef never have me shaking my head, but rather smiling because it's such a clever use of a very awesome time in gaming. It doesn't stop there though. In about 10 minutes, we see Bowser, Dr. Robotnik, Zangief, and Clyde, all of whom are iconic characters from their respective games. If that doesn't tell you how insane this movie truly was, I have no idea what will. Alright, let's move on. Before we talk about what most works about this movie, I want to talk about the cast. Disney usually pulls together pretty awesome casts. In this case, we have John C. Reilly as Ralph, Sarah Silverman as Vanellope von Schweetz, Jack McBrayer as Felix, Jane Lynch as Sergeant Calhoun, and Alan Tudyk as King Candy. I also have to give props to Roger Craig Smith, who came in to voice Sonic the Hedgehog, and Dennis Haysbert, who voiced General Hologram, because those two are always great. While I'm not the biggest fan of celebrity casting in animated movies, I can't imagine any other actors voicing these characters because they truly made these roles their own. As far as the story goes, seeing a bad guy come to grips with his identity was something we never really saw before. Ralph is a very three-dimensional character, and a character that actually grows from a lonely and frustrated, exhausted guy to a man seeking adventure and recognition, to a father figure, to a revitalized man with a purpose. He had layers to him, and I really enjoy going on his journey with him. This was back when Disney didn't have to make their characters do stupid things to make them likable, which unfortunately happens in several of their movies nowadays, including the sequel to this. But that was an example of what they were doing, and this is an example of what they should continue doing. As far as the rest of the characters go, I love how Ralph and Vanellope go from rivals to playful allies to eventually surrogate father and daughter, which was also ruined in the sequel, but that's neither here nor there. I also liked Vanellope's spunky personality, and Sarah Silverman puts a ton of personality into every single one of the lines she has in this movie, especially when she calls Ralph names. I also love the sort of respect we see that Ralph and Felix have for one another, what little we see of it, and how they truly establish themselves as friends, which I kind of wish was explored more, but that's more of a nitpick if anything. Felix's crush on Calhoun was also hilarious and led to some of the funniest jokes in the entire movie. The everyman who's humble and has a heart of gold and the tough soldier are a couple I didn't think I needed, but in all honesty, I'm glad we have it. As far as the villain goes, King Candy is oozing with charisma in every single scene, and Alan Tudyk truly offers an unsettling lying tyrant for our protagonist to face off against, especially during the climax. As far as other things I enjoyed about the film, the animation style is extremely unique and reminds me a lot of a video game, which was done on purpose because this movie is about video games we're talking about. Whenever the movie uses pixel art, it gives me the feeling of warmth and nostalgia because goddammit, I love video games so much. I've gotta say, this is a step in the right direction for Disney, and I'm glad they included creative storytelling in movies like Big Hero 6, Zootopia, and even modern movies like Encanto after this film, because as much as a lot of the fairy tale movies used to work, they got a little stale after a while, which is why I consider this to be one of the best films in the last 15 years from Disney. I just wish it didn't lead to a crappy sequel that I'm not the biggest fan of, but we'll get there soon. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Fun fact, I'm pretty sure I watched this one before Monsters Inc. as a kid. As a prequel to Monsters Inc., the story follows Mike Wazowski and James P. Sullivan during their college years. At Monsters University, Mike and Sully are initially competing in the Scare Games, a series of challenges designed to test their scaring abilities. Their rivalry eventually leads them to form an unlikely friendship and work together. Now, as you all know, the original movie is one of my favorite Pixar movies ever, so beating it would be really hard. And even if this movie ain't as good, I still really enjoyed it. Firstly, I think the story here is really great. First movie mainly focused on Sully, and I'm glad how this one's at its focus on Mike. I love all the fraternity games, they have lots of action and are genuinely entertaining to watch. I think a lot of the characters are great and make the story better. My favorite character is undoubtedly Mike because of the whole conflict of him not being scary. I love how at first he tries his best to be scary, but with the help of Sully realizes that he doesn't need to be scary and that his true power comes from his determination. Mike and Sully's relationship is arguably better than in the original movie, since here we get to see how there's more depth. I don't know how to explain it shortly, but at first they start out as enemies but grow closer towards each other with the movie. Really love to see how they both grow and improve as characters. As for other characters, I like to see the origins of Randall. It's really neat to see how he turned from Mike's roommate to a villain, and there are a few good new characters like the principal. Another great part is the movie's animation. I like the slight changes they added to the original characters to show their young versions, and the designs of the new characters are cool too. In addition, the new settings like the university and the camp are great. Just like was the original, I also love the humor. A lot of the jokes are amazing. Most of them come from Mike and Sully, but another reason is the members of the fraternity that they join. Even if I don't like them a lot, they have many funny moments here. I also think the main music theme for this movie is decent. Not as good as Monsters Inc., but still decent. If I had to name minuses, I feel like pacing is off. It goes from Mike and Sully studying to them suddenly playing in fraternity games, and some of the new characters they added weren't good. I don't hate any characters here, but some are just mid. Lastly, there are two scenes here I loved. Firstly, the reveal with Sully cheating to make the team win. It genuinely shocked me because I wasn't seeing it coming. And secondly, the whole camp segment with Mike and Sully is amazing. The way Sully admits his downsides and helps out Mike is great. My favorite part is when Mike asks why Sully never told that before, and he says we weren't friends before. Also, the part with them scaring the rangers in the camp was fantastic. Sully's scary appearance and Mike's determination made me like them even more. I could keep talking about this movie, but I made my point clear. It was awesome to see the original characters again and how it all began. With only light minuses, this movie's going above The Emperor's New Groove. Frozen follows the story of two royal sisters, Elsa and Anna, in the Kingdom of Arendelle. Elsa has magical ice powers that she struggles to control, leading to an accidental winter curse that plunges the kingdom into eternal winter. Anna, determined to save her sister and their home, teams up with an ice harvester named Kristoff, his loyal reindeer Sven, and an enchanted snowman named Olaf. Through their adventure, Anna and Elsa discover the power of true love and sisterhood, ultimately breaking the curse and restoring summer to Arendelle. Okay, I'll just say this now. Frozen is overrated. The story here never captured my attention too much. I feel like it's good, but there has always been something that removed likability for the film, and after rewatching, I realized that it's the characters. Look, I know this is a hot take, but I'm not a fan of Elsa and Anna. Not that I hate them, but I never felt enthralled watching these two. I guess I like Elsa more because after all she has magical powers. I never cared much about their backstory because it felt a bit rushed. One of the first scenes was Elsa almost killing Anna, and then suddenly their parents die. Like, what's happening with the pacing here? I will say though, I like other characters way more. Kristoff is a nice love interest. I like his relationship with Anna. His reindeer Sven is a good comical relief. But without a doubt, my favorite character is Olaf. The main factor of that is his design. He looks absolutely adorable, and what's better is that he's also really funny. The reason the humor in this movie is so good is because of him. One last character I wanted to mention is the villain. Honestly, the twist was the Prince Anna liked being a villain was unexpected, but as a villain he's just decent. Feels like there was no hint of him being the villain, so it turned out kinda random. Also, I enjoyed how at the end, instead of kissing Kristoff, Anna saves Elsa and breaks the spell, since her act of kindness was the true sibling love. Also, since I mentioned Olaf's design, I gotta address the animation. It looks absolutely gorgeous here. I adored the theme of winter in this movie. The way they drew elements like snow and ice is fantastic, not to mention how unique every character looks here. Last thing I want to mention is the songs. They're fantastic. My favorites are Olaf's summer song and obviously Let It Go. There's no wonder that song is so iconic. Honestly, my problem is that the songs occur way too frequently. Like, if you're gonna have a song every 10 minutes, it will obviously become repetitive or bad. For example, the song that the Trolls sang sucked. With that being said, Frozen is still undoubtedly a great movie, has minuses but redeems itself with great side characters and animation. I'll put Frozen above Bambi.
Alright, so Big Hero 6 is a movie on a kid named Hero and then Baymax, a big white fluffy robot. Not exactly fluffy, I would say like an inflatable balloon, who basically helps him with stuff. And basically, to summarize the story, Hero has his brother, and he works at this company with a bunch of other people. And at this convention, his brother dies because the place blowing up and caught on fire. And then after that, someone stole his nanobots, which are little things he made for the convention to get in the company to work with them because he thought they were so cool. And then they're in this time traveling sequence where they're trying to test the time portal with the CEO. His mom does the time portal thing, and something happens to her. So then the guy comes and attacks the team while they're trying to work and how like to get the nanobots back and stuff. And honestly, I would give this movie like a 7 out of 10. I thought it was great, honestly. Actually, 8 out of 10. Sorry. Because my likes is the characters and the humor. Honestly, I think the humor was really funny, and Baymax is honestly my favorite character, of how like he could just always work with everything. I feel like in the end everything's always so funny if he's in it. So other characters are okay. There is one character I don't like though, which is the main villain. I feel like they could have picked a way better villain instead of the leader or the CEO. Not the CEO, but there was like a leader of the company that protected himself during the explosion. I just don't know why it would be him. I wish it was maybe like the CEO or something, because of how like after the convention he seemed like the type of guy that would become a villain. I don't know, something about the leader just like, oh, he's just a nice guy, you know. I just thought, you know, it would be the CEO. Hero's brother, I wish he would have stayed a little bit longer instead of just killing him off right at the beginning. That's kind of sucked, because he seemed like a really chill character, but other than that, I like it. The reason it's an 8 out of 10 though, is really mainly because of the villain. I just don't know, the villain kind of ranks me down on that. Kind of disappointed me a little bit, because like freaking, I don't know, he wasn't that much of an exciting, like really really exciting villain. I don't know, I just felt like he didn't have really much of reasoning to become a villain. I just agreed, maybe. Other than that, there wasn't really much of a reasoning for him to become a villain, I would say. But other than that, yeah, I give this movie a good 8 out of 10. I think it was great after watching it after all these years.
And we're ending the section with Inside Out, one of my favorite Pixar franchises. The story takes place primarily inside Riley's mind, where 5 personified emotions, joy, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust, control her reactions and feelings. When Riley's family moves to a new city, joy and sadness get accidentally swept away from the headquarters and must navigate her mind's complex landscape to return. Meanwhile, fear, anger, and disgust try to manage Riley's emotions in their absence. Firstly, the story here is so spectacular. The concept of all the emotions staying in your mind and controlling your actions is so unique and awesome. I love to see the POVs of both Riley and her emotions. To put it shortly, the concept is amazing and the story is even better. I like how instead of her emotions having one single trait, like joy just staying joyful, they can change their moods. That's similar to how in real life we as people might have a mix of emotions, so that aspect is portrayed greatly here. Honestly, all the characters are great. My favorite point is definitely the relationship between Joy and Sadness. It makes sense how at first Joy doesn't like her because they're complete opposites, but realizes how it's important for Riley to be sad. Being joyful and happy is great, but being sad is equally important for us to grow as people. Other than that, I also really like Riley's imaginary friend Bing Bong. He has a lot of funny and wholesome scenes, and his sacrifice made me cry. Not only is it sad, but it's once again connected to real life, with how some of us let go of imaginary friends with time. The movie in general has lots of connections to mental health, emotional complexity, and emotional development, which I can only respect. I also admired the whole section was Riley trying to leave her home because of joy and sadness being absent. The scene was Riley crying in front of her parents made me cry because of how real it felt. The message of all emotions being valuable for our well-being is fantastic. I also wanted to talk about the animation and main theme. The main theme sounds absolutely beautiful, it fits really well with the movie. And lastly, the animation is unsurprisingly excellent. The humans look simple and charming, and as for the emotions, they're all great. Each design is unique in its own way. I specifically love how each color represents a specific emotion. I also adore how they drew some subjects like Riley's core memories and personality islands. Again, it's also related to our real life memories and personalities, which I absolutely love. Overall, Inside Out is a movie I highly love and respect. It depicts how emotions and memories play a crucial role in our daily lives, reflecting real psychological and emotional experiences. If you all haven't watched Inside Out yet, you really should, especially because its sequel came out recently. I'll place Inside Out above Fox and the Hound. This was a pretty weird section, not gonna lie, it didn't start promising with Winnie the Pooh and Brave, but the following movies were way better. Thanks to 928 Studios Inc. and Elimination Carter for helping me with the video. Links to their channels in the description. If y'all liked this video, like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, goodbye.